Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Business Miracles Coach Kat. I have been a Business Miracles community member since 2021 and a coach team member since 2022. And you're here for the intro class, which is titled How to Master Neurodiversity and Executive Functioning to Make More Impact and Income with highly sensitive leadership mentor, Heather Dominick. Now, this class is modeled after the highly sensitive leadership training program element that we refer to as the weekly training roundtable. This is where Heather teaches brand new material every week to ensure in real time that our global Business Miracles members are operating at their best as highly sensitives in business and leadership. This is the way that our members stay strong and steady with sustainable income and more time for themselves and their families, no matter where they live in the world, rather than becoming overwhelmed by the current chaotic global climate we're in. Our weekly roundtables work in tandem with our 7 tracks of curriculum trainings, as the Business Miracles members who are here today know very well. So a special welcome to our current members who've chosen to join this class. Right, agreed. We can never have too much training or mentoring from Heather, can we? So it's very rare for Heather to actually offer this kind of training outside of the Business Miracles community. So you all are in for a huge treat. So for those of you who are new here, we have 3 highly sensitive intro class Zoom etiquette guidelines to support all of us with having a positive virtual learning environment. So get ready to write these down if it's helpful for you. First, we invite you to be on video. Heather's also highly sensitive, and she's spoken to the challenge of what it is to teach to a blank Zoom classroom. So you can also use being on video as an opportunity to practice what Heather teaches as V&V energy, which is visibility and vulnerability. It's a major cornerstone for highly sensitives in business and leadership success. So you can take a moment to write that down. V&V energy equals visibility and vulnerability. Second, your Zoom name. Thank you in advance for using the name that you registered for this intro class with. And if there's anything promotional or names we don't recognize, as a team, we'll just step in and support with that. Third, participation. How to do that? Please wait until Heather asks for participation, then click on the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, then the raise hand button. So take a moment to write that down. Reactions button at the bottom of your screen, then the raise hand button. Throughout the class, I'll be placing some keynotes in the chat for those of you who are more visual learners, so look for those. And if what you hear during this intro class resonates for you, you'll have the opportunity to claim one of the 3 spots that are open on Heather's calendar to schedule a complimentary one-on-one call directly with Heather. So that link is being placed in the chat for you now, so it's there when you need it. And now, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome Heather, founder of businessmiracles.com, successfully employed as a highly sensitive person since 2003. She's been training a global community of highly sensitives in business and leadership since 2010. Heather is a master coach and a highly skilled mentor. Her innate ability to distill complex concepts into doable actions you actually want to take has supported thousands of highly sensitives to effortlessly create business and life success that they previously thought was impossible, including me. I'm grateful every day for the ways that my life has changed and my family's life has changed because of Heather's mentorship. Welcome, Heather.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Coach Kat. What a beautiful introduction and start to this very special intro class for today. We are here to focus on the topic enhancing HSP business leadership through neurodiversity and executive functioning. So welcome, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to be here with each of you today. And for those who registered and will be using Plan B, as I like to say, to listen into the recording. I want to start by saying that it's more important than ever as HSPs committed to empowerment through business and leadership that we are joined together in aligned community. This is the way to ensure emotional and financial stability for yourself. And I'm going to take a moment just to allow that to sink in. More important than ever to be joined in aligned community as HSPs committed to empowerment in business and leadership. This is the way to ensure emotional and financial stability for yourself, as well as to contribute to hope to the world by taking action in the name of betterment. I also want to say happy spring equinox. If that's your thing, this season is delivering that fiery courage you need to make real changes in your life. So how auspicious that we get to be gathering today on spring equinox. This season, especially today, supports you in standing at that perfect halfway point between the lunar and solar eclipse happening in this amazing month of March 2025. So there literally is a cosmic portal that amplifies your ability to release what's no longer serving you and to step into your unlimited potential. Again, a powerful time to come together if that's your thing. Or maybe you just found yourself awake in the middle of the night last night for no particular reason, except that's exactly when the equinox was shifting energy. And we, as HSPs, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we want to work with it consciously or not, are often feeling these types of shifts and changes. As Kat said, I also want to give a special warm welcome to our current Business Miracles members, HSP leaders of the Business Miracles community who have chosen to join us today. We are so happy that you are here. We have a lot to cover today. So let's take a moment, place a hand on heart, and together let's take in a breath. Breath in and let it out. My 22 years of doing this work has shown me that HSPs are called to business and leadership because of an innate desire to use their HSP traits to make a positive difference for others. Yet, what's often overlooked is the importance of being able to not only handle, but honor one's own HSP needs first. Not from a place of sympathy, not from a place of victimhood or overprotection, because that is all fear-based, but from a place of knowing what the nervous system needs to operate optimally to support being in action. This is ultimate HSP self-respect. And I'm going to invite you to write that down, especially if you tend to be a kinesthetic learner. That's where writing or typing notes is really, really in your best interest. So I'll say it again. Being in action, the ultimate HSP self-respect. Yet, HSPs resist this so much. So today's intro class is designed to share key points so you can get to the point where you truly are operating as a high-functioning HSP in business and leadership. I'll be sharing guidelines to do exactly that as part of today's intro class. And then it's about being in action with these guidelines consistently. The concepts I'm going to share today might sound simple. Yet, this is exactly what I have seen over and over again for HSPs to create strong, solid, sustainable income without needing to behave like someone that they're not. Simple, doable, incremental step by step. I invite you to remember that if you hear just one sentence today that you can use to help improve the quality of your business, leadership, and life, that's fabulous. That is more than enough. You don't have to get everything I say. You don't have to even accept everything I say. You don't even need to understand everything I say. Whatever you are hearing today is going into your nervous system and subconscious mind. And you'll use it at the right time, or you'll reject it, because you are always in control. You can do whatever you want. The choice is always yours. As I like to say, no right, no wrong, and no judgment, and definitely no attachment on my part. I could teach, I could train, and mentor you for months. But if you don't want to accept, that's your choice. Because again, you are always in control. So let's just see what we can create today, and let's enjoy ourselves. Improving the quality of our work and our lives is often approached so seriously by us HSPs. So no wonder we resist and get tired. HSP business leadership training is absolutely important. It's a must. Again, I've been doing this work for 22 years and mentoring others for over a decade. But it doesn't need to be overwhelming and exhausting. So I'm going to invite you to write that down. HSP business leadership is absolutely important, and it's a must to be able to really get to that place where you're creating solid, sustainable income in a way that feels effortless, but it does not need to be overwhelming and exhausting. We can do it that way, which causes a lot of pain, and most of us are very familiar with that. But we can do it through joy too. So to support us, we're going to start with a somatic activation before we dive into the heart of the content for today's intro class. So I'm going to invite you to take a moment, just put down anything that might be in your hands, anything that you're using for note-taking, writing, typing, or if you happen to be holding a cup of tea, kitty cat, anything else. Give yourself a little bit of room, maybe push your seat back if you happen to be sitting in front of a desk or a table. Allow yourself to just get really comfortable. And here's where I'm going to invite you to bring a hand to heart. So placing a hand on heart, just that alone calms the nervous system. So take a moment just to really feel and register the palm of your hand over the pulse of your beating heart. And then together, let's take a breath in, strong, solid breath in, and let it out. Conscious, slow, deliberate, intentional breath also calms the nervous system. Allowing your hand to remain on your heart, I'm now going to invite you to uncross legs or ankles or feet if they happen to be crossed, just giving yourself a solid yet also gentle, real supportive stance, allowing for alignment of the nervous system through the alignment of the spine to begin to happen. From here, we're going to move into some eye movements together, which help to also calm the nervous system and simultaneously create focus. So we're going to take the eyes and we're going to look up, and then we're going to look to the right, and then we're going to look down, and then we're going to look to the left, and together we're going to look up again. And one more time, to the right, down, to the left, and up. Now we're going to go in the other direction, to the left, down, to the right, and up. One more time, to the left, down, to the right, and up. Beautiful. Slowly, gently allowing the eyes to close, keeping hand on heart, Legs continue to be uncrossed, and taking a moment just to register the supportive calming of the nervous system and beginning to move the nervous system into focus. From here, you can allow your eyes to remain closed, or if you're more comfortable, allow them to open. And now we're going to bring both hands to the heart, and then we're going to slide our hands to the left and the right. So they're crossing over the heart. One is on the left shoulder and one is on the right shoulder. And together we're slowly going to begin to tap one shoulder at a time, otherwise known as the butterfly hug. This movement, in addition to calming the nervous system, helps to balance and even out the neural pathways to both the left brain and the right brain. Keeping that butterfly hug tap going. And now together we're going to move into what's called a VU breath. Keeping that butterfly hug going, I'll demonstrate the VU breath for you and then invite you to join me. It literally is exactly how it sounds. VOO, sounding like VOO. Keeping that butterfly hug going, and together, a VU breath. 1, 2, 3. VU. Beautiful. Slowly allowing that butterfly hug to come to a rest. Together taking in a deep, strong, solid breath. And letting it out. Moving the hands back to cover over the heart. And now taking a moment and utilizing your fingers almost as if they were positioned to play a piano. And you're going to turn that movement to your chest, and you're going to allow that piano finger movement to just run across the chest, left to right and right to left. If helpful, you can bring to mind a current anxiety or stressor, and then begin to feel yourself literally tapping that stressor, that anxiety away. That anxiety, that stressor being released through this crossing from left to right tapping into the power of the heart, which will take that anxiety, will take that stress, and it will turn it into an opportunity, a challenge shifted into a learning insight. Last somatic moment of this activation is we're going to keep this left to right tapping moving while we give one more VU breath together on the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. VU. Slowly allowing that VU breath to come to a close, hands to rest gently over the heart, dropping your chin to the chest. If your eyes have been closed, you can allow them to just slowly flutter on open, hands to drift comfortably down from heart to lap, and when ready, allowing your gaze to rise back up, connecting into the power of our virtual classroom and connection today. Beautiful. From here, this is where I'll give a reminder. It's so helpful for me if you choose to be on video. I did used to be a traditional classroom teacher years and years ago, with all my 22 years of being self-employed, and now so much use of the Zoom classroom tool, which we love and appreciate. Yet, often when people are off video, it is as if I am teaching a class to students with bags over their heads. So if possible, I do invite you to embrace that this is a sacred community. We are all HSPs here, including myself. And this is a beautiful time to practice what I like to refer to as V and V energy, visibility and vulnerability. I'm also going to invite you to stay on until the end of our time together today, because we will move into an opportunity for mentoring, questions, and answers based on the content that I'm about to share with you. We are going to start by setting our inner and outer intentions. Now that we've had that somatic activation, I'm going to invite you to pick up whatever it is that you brought to write with, take notes, and/or type with. And together we're going to take a moment and we're going to set an inner intention. That inner intention is one word of how you want to feel as we go through this intro class together. Take a moment, place your hand on heart if that's helpful to support you in connecting in. And what is that one word of how you want to feel? Take a moment and write that down. And together, breath in and let it out. And from here, we'll shift into setting our outer intention. The outer intention is a phrase or sentence of something tangible that you want to leave this intro class with. Maybe some type of clarity, or a specific tool to use, or an insight. As I shared already, no attachment on my part. The choice is yours. You could write down nothing. Up to you. And together again, breath in and let it out. From here, I'd like to hear some inner and outer intentions, and also knowing that as you share your intentions, it's a beautiful opportunity to be witnessed and energy to be joined with you and for you in those intentions, and also for those intentions to be shared and received by others to be able to benefit them as well. You're going to raise your digital hand, and as Coach Kat shared, you'll just go to the bottom of the screen. You'll access a place where you can raise your digital hand. And I'm going to invite you to give a brief introduction. So if helpful, you can write this down. I'm just going to ask you to share your first name and where you're zooming in from today. So raise your digital hand to share your inner intention. That's that one word of how you want to feel through our intro class time together today. Stephanie, let's start with you, an introduction and your inner intention.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm calling in from Gaithersburg, Maryland, and my inner intention is grounded.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Deb, your introduction and your inner intention.
Hi, I'm Deb. I'm from upstate New York in Saratoga, and my inner intention is bliss. So that because I'm in community with other HSPs.
Amazing. Fun fact, I was born in Saratoga Springs, and the majority of our in-person Business Miracles retreats take place in Saratoga Springs. One is happening at the beginning of May. So yay, love that.
Yay. Thank you.
Matt, your introduction and your one-word inner intention.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt. I'm calling in from Arlington, Virginia, near Gaithersburg, actually, right outside of DC. And my inner intention was to feel encouraged.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Joan, introduction and inner intention.
Hi, my name is Joan, and I'm from Northern California, and my inner intention is joy.
Lovely. And Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my inner intention is calm.
Thank you so much for that. Let's all take a breath in and let it out. Beautiful. And from here, an opportunity to raise your digital hand, especially if you have not yet participated, to share your introduction and your outer intention. Elizabeth, introduction and your outer intention.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and I'd like to leave today with at least one key insight to post on a Post-it note.
Amazing. Thank you. Ennis, introduction and your outer intention.
I'm Ennis. I'm zooming in from Philadelphia, and my outer intention is to be reminded that I'm an HSP.
Gorgeous. You're in the right place. Monica, introduction and outer intention.
Hi, I'm Monica, and I am in Berkeley, California, just outside of San Francisco. And my outer intention is to have one next step to walk away with.
Beautiful. Thank you. Ylvia, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it's Ylvia Asal. I am from New Jersey. Haddonfield, New Jersey. And it's my outer intention is creativity and art.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you, Sylvia. Love that. So beautiful. Amazing. Let's all take a breath in and let it out. Awesome. Amazing. So we have those inner and outer intentions set, and hopefully you're also starting to feel the power of aligned community. As I mentioned earlier, HSP is committed to empowerment in business and leadership. Let's dive in. Now, most registered for this intro class, those who are here, those who again are clearly going to be tuning in to Plan B and accessing the recording, most of you shared that you are longtime HSPs. However, it's really valuable, and as Anna so beautifully shared as her outer intention, it's really valuable for all of us to be reminded, what does that mean exactly? Now, again, this is a beautiful place to take notes, and notes will be placed in the chat for you, especially if you are more of a visual learner. Using those notes to be able to step forward for mentoring and Q&A at the end of this intro class. So first of all, according to the Cleveland Health Clinic, a highly sensitive person, an HSP, is a personality trait. That's valuable to write down. It's a personality trait to describe someone with a deep sensitivity to the physical, emotional, or social situations and information around them. Physical, emotional, social, and information. Now, according to Dr. Elaine Aaron, one of my mentors and a leading HSP researcher, her theory is that HSPs are a subset of the population who are high in a personality trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS. Those with high levels of SPS display increased emotional sensitivity, stronger reactivity to both external and internal stimuli, such as pain, hunger, light and noise, and a complex inner life. Also, according to the research, there are only 20% of us in the world population who are highly sensitive. Neurodivergent. What is the definition of neurodivergent? Now, again, according to the Cleveland Health Clinic, neurodivergent is a non-medical term. Non-medical that describes people whose brains develop or work differently for some reason. This means that the person has different strengths and struggles from people whose brains develop or work more typically. Now, while some people who are neurodivergent have medical conditions, it also happens to people where a medical condition or diagnosis has not been identified. Neurodiversity. According to Harvard Medical, neurodiversity describes the idea that people experience and interact with the world around them in many different ways. According to the research, there is no one right way. No one right way of thinking, learning, and behaving. Also, according to the neurodiversity research, differences are not viewed as deficits. Let's write that down. Differences are not viewed as deficits. Now, Judy Singer, an Australian sociologist, coined the term neurodiversity as a social justice movement to promote equality and inclusion of neurological minorities. So what started as primarily a social justice movement, the term is now often used in the context of the autism spectrum disorder, otherwise known as ASD, as well as other neurological or developmental conditions such as ADHD or learning disabilities. Now, super fun note that I like to emphasize here when it comes to this research is that the HSP research and the neurodiversity development took place at the same time in the mid-1990s on opposite sides of the world. Executive functioning. So we're going to go back to Cleveland. Executive function refers to mental processes. Executive functioning skills. Skills that help you set and carry out goals. Let's write that down. Set and carry out goals. You use these skills to solve problems, make plans, and manage emotions. Executive functioning is also responsible for our ability to regulate our emotions. Let's write that down. Regulate our emotions. Especially as HSPs, that's about controlling our impulses. And as HSPs in business and leadership, it's about making decisions. Now, executive functioning skills are absolutely essential for success in school, work, and personal life. And they are learnable. Let's take a breath in and let it out. So how does this all fit together, especially for us as HSPs in business and leadership? Here's where I'm going to invite the Business Miracles team to bring up a screen share. You can look at this as handout number 1. And we're going to look at 5 clear points. 5 clear points to understand the connection between being HSP and neurodivergent. The screen share is available for you, especially if you tend to be a visual learner. If you get overwhelmed by visual sight, you can just block it out and listen to my voice and take notes for those auditory learners and those kinesthetic learners. So first of all, human brains are all wired differently. We all perceive, relate to, and understand the world in different ways. There is no one right way. From there, how we interpret our world is based on both our neurological wiring and our experiences. That's nature and nurture. From there, due to number 1 and 2, what the majority might consider to be the quote unquote norm actually might not be so normal. What the majority might consider to be pathological may in fact just be a variation in genetics, making an individual unique. HSPs are born with a sensory processing sensitivity. Highly sensitive people exhibit increased blood flow to the regions of the brain that process our emotions, our awarenesses, and one of our key HSP strengths, empathy. Therefore, we are born with different wiring than most. It's literally how you were brought into the world. Finally, a highly sensitive person perceives the world differently than most and are among the neurologically diverse in our population. Diverse, different, not deficit. Let's take a breath in and let it out. So how do we work with all of this for enhancement in business and leadership? I'm going to ask the team to bring up a second screen share, your second handout. And this is what I have coined as the I.A.M model. I.A.M, which stands for identify, accept, master. Starting with identify. This is simply identifying if you are a highly sensitive person. Again, most of us here as part of this intro class have clearly identified as HSPs for quite a while. So we move on to accept. Now this is about accepting past shadow patterns, coping mechanisms, shame shields, and resistances. Now this is where many HSPs get stuck in unconscious protective behaviors. behaviors that have just developed over years of basic instinct survival in a world that's not designed for us, because we are only 20% of the population. Now, this is why every HSP in the highly sensitive leadership training programs receives what we refer to as the HSP Success Curriculum Track, in addition to their Take Action Leadership Curriculum Track. The HSP Success Track trains you on how to move out of past shadow patterns, coping mechanisms, shame shields, and resistances, so that you can successfully engage with your Take Action Leadership Curriculum Track. Whether that be in the Marketing Leadership Track, the Advanced Marketing Leadership Track, the Professional Leadership Track, or any of the 7 curriculums we offer. Now, if you have a sense this support is something that you're meant to know more about, as Coach Kat mentioned at the beginning of this class, we have opened up 3 spots on my calendar for a complimentary one-on-one call where we can explore this topic further privately together. And as part of that, to also explore if the highly sensitive leadership training programs make sense for you at this time, with no attachment to the outcome. That link is being placed in the chat for you now, so that you can take advantage if that is something you sense would be supportive at this time. Which leads us to master, which brings us back to executive functioning. A reminder: mental processes, skills that help you to set and carry out goals, solve problems, make plans, manage emotions, regulate your emotions, control your impulses, and make decisions. This is everything the retraining of the highly sensitive leadership training programs support you with. You have that HSP Success Track, plus that Take Action Track, plus our weekly training roundtables that model exactly what we're doing here together today as part of this intro class. And we do that through what I like to refer to as 3 success pillars for HSPs in business and leadership. And this would be good to write down. Those 3 success pillars: community, core practice, and consistency. They are the foundational pillars of the highly sensitive leadership training programs, because community, core practice, and consistency support you with stop wasting energy trying to fit into someone else's definition of normal, and to stop wasting resources on courses and trainings that are not designed for your HSP way of processing, and to stop feeding your shadows, stop engaging in your coping mechanisms, stop being triggered by those shame shields and resistances that were developed to help you survive, but instead, through community, core practice, and consistency, shift into thriving. You want to start capitalizing on who you are by leaning into HSP business leadership support in order to enhance your executive functioning. Which leads us to screen share and handout number 3. 5 steps. 5 steps for how we can use what we know now about executive functioning and maximize it to serve and support our neurodiversity as highly sensitive people. So take a moment, place your eyes on this handout, and see what really stands out to you. Step 1 is about regulating your emotions by identifying overstimulation triggers. Step 2, develop planning strategies that honor your need for reflection and intuition. 3, use community support for that accountability, for that ongoing consistency. And 4, adjust your business approach to work with your natural energy cycles And most importantly, number 5, stop trying to fix yourself. There's nothing to fix. All to support you with more easily creating what you want for yourself. Hand on heart, and let's take a breath in and let it out. Beautiful. Here's a moment to give yourself an energetic scan of the notes that you've taken so far as we prepare to shift into mentoring and Q&A. But first, I want to hand us back to Coach Kat for what we refer to in our weekly training roundtables as our program success tip for the week, which is all about how to work with the training that you just received. So I'm going to hand us back over to Kat for that success tip. Kat, welcome.
Thank you so much, Heather. So for those of you guys not yet in the Business Miracles community, you're going to be receiving a recording of this intro class within 2 hours. And so the recording is going to be available to view through 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, March the 27th, 2025. So take a moment and write that down. 11:59 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, March 27th, 2025. And I'm also putting that in the chat for you. As Heather has shared, and as I've shared, if this intro class resonates for you, there's 3 openings that are on Heather's calendar for a one-on-one call. So your first step would be to complete the Clarity Call questionnaire. And again, we'll go ahead and put this link in the chat for you. So I'm doing that right now. I really recommend you take advantage of this call because Heather is really special. You're going to actually walk away with real, tangible steps to actually infuse your work with joy and take actual steps to balance your life without any obligations. And there's only 3 spots in her calendar, so claim your spot. Again, the questionnaire needs to be received by Thursday, March the 27th at the very latest. So my coach recommendation is to complete the Clarity Call questionnaire right away to be sure that you secure one of those 3 spots. And then you'll also receive a special gift of a $500 tuition discount. So take a moment and write that down. $500 tuition discount. So fill out that questionnaire. So for those of you who are in the Business Miracles community, a couple of things you could do as a next step. First, review the intro class notes you just took. Second, share them on the forum. First, share what are you taking away. Second, based on your current 12-month goal or 90-day benchmark, what action are you inspired to take? Then third, tag Heather and myself and another inspired community member. Maybe it's somebody that you're seeing on this call here right today for your support. And as always, we recommend 20 words or less to support with the overwhelm. Back to you, Heather.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Coach Kat. Again, let's all take a breath in and let it out. And here's where we have the opportunity to shift into real-time mentoring, Q&A support from everything that you received from this intro class today, and or maybe anything that's been sparked regarding a question that you have in connection to your business, in connection to your leadership position, or anything that might be supportive for really enhancing operating as an HSP in business and leadership. Again, you're going to raise your digital hand. I am going to ask that you are on video to bring forward a question or even just a thought or a comment. We are going to stay with those introductions, and just a reminder, that's your name and where you are zooming in from today. So when you're ready, raise your digital hand, thoughts, comments, questions. Or a physical hand. I see you, Terrell. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. Oh, you were doing both the physical that raises the digital.
I usually don't do the digital one that much, but then I saw the option for it. But no, I actually just got in. I apologize because I didn't know I was gonna make it because I had to take my sister and her son to the city. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm in the room. I'm like real late. I got in like 2 minutes ago.
Welcome, and you'll receive the recording, as Kat said, within about 2 hours. And so you'll have the opportunity to review and re-return. And thank you so much for letting us know that you're here. Thank you. Stephanie, thought, comment, question.
I just wanted to connect a dot. When you said, stop feeding my shadows, I'm reminded that, right now in these kind of crazy times, I've been spending more time than I want to on social media. And I have been absorbing the crisis. And I think as a neurodivergent, highly sensitive person, we absorb more than we realize. And so when you said that, it was like this reminder of, that's a version of feeding my shadows when I'm allowing myself to absorb the crisis. So I just wanted to share that.
I so appreciate that. I'm going to out Stephanie as a long-time Business Miracles community member and a highly successful HSP business leader in her own right. And so I really appreciate that dot connect. First of all, it shows the power and importance of the ongoing process of retraining that is absolutely necessary for us as HSPs. As I shared earlier, most of us have spent a lot of time, right? Either we didn't know that we were highly sensitive, or we were being raised or educated by people who didn't know or didn't understand our sensitivity. So it makes sense that shadow behavior was cultivated. It makes sense that those coping mechanisms were formed, and it makes sense that they'll come back around, and sometimes very sneakily, especially in moments of crisis and pressure, which ultimately we are in right now as a global community. Yet what's so key, as Stephanie just shared, is it doesn't have to stay that way. Because you are highly sensitive does not automatically equal that you must continuously absorb other people's energies, other people's negativity, or become overwhelmed by an onslaught of information. And you also don't have to beat yourself up when you have a moment like Stephanie just shared where you catch it. But what's really powerful is going back to that community core practice and consistency, because having community like this and having weekly training roundtables, such as we are sharing and experiencing together here today, is a place for that reminder. Rather than our HSP shadow tendency, which is to isolate. I'm going to figure this all out by myself. I'm going to work this all out by myself until I can present a perfect presentation of myself to the world so that no one will call me out for being different. But how beautiful that Stephanie just shared that, because I have a sense she was not speaking just for herself. So what's valuable that we learned here today is that when you do identify a shadow behavior, such as getting caught up in social media, that is another form of the identify to then accept, oh my goodness, I lost it for a moment. I went into shadow behavior. And now, because I've acknowledged it, I've accepted it, I have brought it to community and to coach and mentor support, I can now shift back into mastery. And I can use the retraining to then shift my behavior, which I know, because again, I've worked with Stephanie for quite a long time, is exactly what she will do. She will follow through and she will take action and she will shift her behavior. And soon I will see her post on the Business Miracles Forum how she is going to use social media differently. And then she will be held accountable by myself and Kat and others who are in the community, some of them here today. Amazing. That's absolutely more than good enough. Beautiful. Matt, thought, comment, question, and your introduction.
Hi, I'm Matt, again from Arlington, Virginia. First of all, thank you very much. And two questions. One is, what is the difference between your clarity call versus one of these 3 mentoring calls?
Oh, they are one and the same. They are one and the same. It's a very, very special process. 2 parts, if it makes sense for us to connect for 2 times, all to support with clarity regarding what's happening for you right now as an HSP in business and leadership. And as part of that, to explore if the highly sensitive leadership training programs make sense for you. We are quite particular about who comes into the highly sensitive leadership training programs because of that success pillar of community, right? So aligned community is such a secret success ingredient for our HSPs who are in the Business Miracles community. So we always want to make sure you are a match for the community is a match for you. That's what that 2-part process is about. Those clarity calls are often available either with myself or a member of the team. 3 available for those of you participating in this intro class directly with me. And also, because you're a part of this intro class, that $500 tuition discount if we both get clear that the leadership training program makes sense for you. Is that helpful?
Great. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And my second question, I could save it for the clarity call, but perhaps it applies to other people in the room.
Please.
I'm an extroverted HSP. I'm also HSS, high sensation seeker. So my challenges in groups, and I would worry if I were to be part of this community, is to my extroversion and bigness might upset other sensitive people in the room. So is that something you guys work well with and help manage so we don't hurt each other?
Absolutely. So as I said, we are committed to empowerment in business and leadership. I'm going to out her again, but Stephanie is also an extroverted, highly sensitive person and a high sensation seeker, also known as a quick start. I could out Ennis here as well, who's also in the Business Miracles community long-term, also extroverted and a high sensation seeker. And we have very, very solid systems in place as a team to account for all types of HSP individuals. That is why our HSPs do create so much success. And we want you to be you. And we want the gift of your extrovertedness. And we want the gift of your high sensation seeking, because that is so valuable for other HSPs who are not extroverted and who are not high sensation seeking. And it helps and supports them in a safe environment and community to be able to master, as part of the I.A.M, how to manage those different types of energies. And it's also really valuable for the extroverts and the high sensation seekers to be in practice, safe core practice, right, with regulating that tendency to want to move really quickly, right, which again, Stephanie can attest to. We've done some amazing mentoring on really being able to hone and channel that quick start energy so that it really works in her favor rather than not. So all beautiful when managed and supported consciously, which is exactly the way that the program is structured. So if it makes sense, I look forward to talking with you about that more. Beautiful. Joan, introduction, thought, comment, and question.
Yeah.
And question.
Heather, thank you so much. This is beautifully done. And I just want to say a few things here. First of all, Stephanie, you stopped feeding my shadow by social media. I think we can all relate to that. Beautiful. As a leader in my own community, as a therapist and a coach, I know that it's really super important these days to stay centered and stay in our own joy. And Heather, there was something that you said at the beginning in terms of highly sensitive being active. I find that more and more intuitively these days that I make extra special time to be active so that my body is processing the things that are coming our way. And I think as leaders in our community, it's so very important. And community, there is a documentary out right now called Join or Die, and really it means die more emotionally, that I highly recommend because it really talks about the importance they've made a study of all different countries and why democracy flourishes, and it's those who stay in community. So what you're doing, I highly appreciate. And I think that more than ever, first of all, I really recommend that documentary for people to listen to. It's on Netflix. It's beautifully done. About right now, most important is that we stay in community. So thank you for this wonderful presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. There is, again, something really special about the Business Miracles community. As I've shared, I've been doing this work a long time. I've been self-employed since 2003. I've been mentoring other HSPs in business and leadership since 2010. And I have been out there in the world. I have been out there in the world of self-employment and business and leadership for quite a long time in many, many different arenas. And I have literally never seen anything like the Business Miracles community. Again, because not only are we HSPs, we are HSPs who are committed to empowerment through business and leadership. So we have HSPs who have been in business for over 25 years. We have HSPs who are just starting out in business. We have HSPs who are in more traditional leadership positions. We have HSPs who are way over 7 figures, and we have HSPs who never, ever have the desire to generate that kind of income. And yet, the type of cross-community support is remarkable. And it really highlights one of our HSP strengths is that we learn without realizing that we're learning. Now, the shadow side of that is what Stephanie spoke to earlier, which is absorbing, right? So we take a lot in and then we take it on and we use it as reasons to go into those shadows and those coping mechanisms. Yet when cultivated consciously, as I was sharing with Matt earlier, that then allows for those in the community who are further along the path, literally like effortlessly like pull you forward. And for someone new coming into the community, you have something to contribute that then allows for acceleration for those who are further along the path, both in their business, leadership, and or training. So it truly, truly is remarkable. It is one of the most generous group of people that I have ever encountered, and it doesn't happen by accident. As I mentioned too, we have very, very, very strong conscientious systems in place to help consistently cultivate the safety of the community. Again, it's why HSPs and the community are out there in the world doing amazing things and really having strong, successful, sustainable income in spite of our very crazy, chaotic, and crisis-oriented times. The other thing I want to emphasize from your share, Joan, is yes, active with our bodies, absolutely important. And what I was really emphasizing at the beginning of this intro class was being in action. So not just physical activity to take care of self, though that is very important, but actually being in action in your business and in your leadership, out in the world, being willing to be visible, being willing to be vulnerable. Again, that's where the community supports you. So you have a weekly place to come to, like this example of our weekly training roundtables, to then go out into the world, not tempted to hide, right? Not tempted to hold back, but instead taking action in a way that feels good for you, and then therefore creating hope in the world, making a difference, and increasing your income. That's the way that it works. Okay, amazing. Let's take a breath in and let it out. I did see Elizabeth's hand up. I do know we are also at the top of the hour, so if you have to scoot or bounce, please feel free to do so. I am so happy to hang on the line. So Elizabeth, let me do a check-in with you. Would you still like to step forward with a thought, comment, or question?
Appreciate it. It's absolutely one of my strategies to say, it's the end of the hour. I'll just skip it. So I'm going to thank you for seeing
No
it.
hiding.
It was like, as you were making those last comments, I'm like, yep, even though I put my hand down, here we go. I'm Elizabeth Shepley, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, invited by Stephanie. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Been kind of lurking and seeing your emails, Heather, since Stephanie told me about you almost a year ago. And in all things synchronicity, one of the things that I have been developing for my community, who tend to be some identifiers with one of the things that we talked about today, but maybe they don't know it yet. And I'm really well resourced in that crisis kind of management. And I will also absorb if I'm not doing those basic daily practices. And so naturally, with the state of the affairs in the world, I've recognized, like, back to the basics, like every day, really honing in on that. So I appreciate all of the reminders today, and like all of the yes. The thing that I am recognizing right now is so many things, actually. But one thing that you spoke to that, like, as was practiced right here, that tendency to isolate until I figure it out. And also simultaneously knowing the value of coming into community and like the normalizing and like having the strength among numbers, really, to like figure it out together, or like not even have to figure it out, but like just let it be okay. I really appreciated that. And at that crossroad, like, I think this is where I'm like in, learning mode on whatever level that's happening right now, is at that crossroads between the neurodivergent like behaviors of ADHD, if we want to use that label, or other mental mood disorder kind of things, where the HSP in me, like, I will just stop and isolate because I'm too messy. Like, I'm too big. And like, I really appreciated Matt speaking up and like those kinds of things, which I am really resourced in, like crisis management. And then I'll struggle to like take up space when like things are calm, which again, at this intersection of all these different things. So I'm wondering not only about like that piece of things, the crossroads stuff, but also in terms of the different tracks of the Take Action curriculum, the crossroads again, like the one track kind of thing. Like immediately I'm like, oh no, I don't fit in one spot. So if you could speak to that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm so glad we stayed on the line. So first of all, that is absolutely beautiful, speaking to that crossroads. And I saw Regina emphasize that in the chat for you as you were sharing as well. So that crossroads that you speak to is so valuable regarding awareness and insight. And that crossroads is where the enhancement of our HSP strength of intuition really comes into play. Now, a little bit that I want to share about that is, it's one thing to have an understanding of what it is to be intuitive, and it's another to really go through a training process that teaches you how to use the intuition deliberately in support of being in aligned business and leadership action. So that's why another program element in the highly sensitive leadership training programs is that every 4 months, I lead a always unique intuitive planning day, where everyone in the community creates a 4-month plan from their intuition. It is an ongoing training process, yet literally that honing of our HSP strength of being intuitive, which I'll just say makes sense, right? Our nervous system is wired to take in stimulation at a higher degree. When it is being used on a strength perspective, it is going to allow us to connect in with the heart brain, which works faster than the head brain. So that goes to you saying, like, withdrawing and trying to figure it out, or we figure it out together. And what I would offer is we actually don't figure it out together. We actually transcend it together. So we access kind of bypassing that HSP shadow tendency to, again, isolate, go into analysis paralysis, try to wait for perfectionism, right? And we learn to bypass that through that strength of intuition as applied to taking outer action. So that is absolutely key. And I know Business Miracles members here can really attest to the power of those intuitive planning days and things that have been created that, like, literally I'm constantly witnessing, like minds being blown, actions being taken, aspects of business and leadership being created that, like, members are like, I cannot even believe that I was actually able to do that. Right? It is constantly happening, and that's why. So we take that crossroads and it's like we just open it up. So then from there, the leadership track curriculum, I'll just speak to briefly, totally recognize that HSP, no, do not, do not put me in a box. So one, that's why we have you take the leadership track assessment when you enter into the program, and that assessment is always spot on, and it guides you to where you're meant to focus most in your own highly sensitive leadership journey at this time. And we always give you access to 2 other tracks. And depending on your program level, you can always request a training from another track at any time, one at a time, right? So we design the program based on what doesn't work in other more traditional programs for HSPs, and we do the exact opposite. So we do not pigeonhole you, we do not box you in, but we guide you and we teach you how to work with a plethora of support without going into overwhelm, which that alone is super valuable. Yeah, okay, is that helpful?
Very, thank you.
Amazing, thank you. Such a great question, and thank you for everyone for hanging on the line. I am going to invite Kat to put that questionnaire link in the chat one more time. 3 spots on the calendar. We did have close to 60 registered for this intro class. Yay you, who are here in person. Others will be accessing that Plan B. So if you do have a sense, it does really work for us to connect and further explore the possibility of the leadership training program based on any resonance here today, please do fill that questionnaire out as soon as you possibly can. Other than that, I look forward to staying connected in all the ways that we are meant to stay connected. And please, please, please do what needs to be done to be out in the world as an HSP in business and leadership. Really, really, truly, you are needed now more than ever. On our weekly training roundtables, we end with what we call Afterglow, which is a little bit of music, also opening up the chat. So feel free to hang around, continue the conversation in the chat, or just take in the music. And again, so looking forward to all the ways that we will stay connected and what is meant to take place next. Until next time.
You're not lost, the conversation shut you down. An awkward pause or two, what can you say to that? What makes it worse is that it's you you're talking to, and you can't make sense of it. So you override and tell yourself, be bold, be brave, be scared out your mind and do it anyway. And the stars are lining up to say, we see you when we constellate. Just get where you want to be, and you're gonna trip along the climb. That's part of being your life. Be bold and be brave. Be bold and be brave. Be bold and be brave. You're not lost, the indecision gave you hell. The road was right, but how could anybody tell? But something in you you started shaking off the feeling that was keeping you from dreaming, and now you're screaming to yourself. Be bold, be brave, be scared out your mind and do it anyway. And the stars are lining up to say, we see you when we constellate. Be bold, be brave, you might just get where you wanna be, and you're gonna trip along the climb. That's part of being your be bold and be brave. Be bold and be brave. Be bold and be brave. Be bold, be brave, be scared out your mind and do it anyway. And the stars are lining up to say, we see you when we constellate.